Hi, welcome to Programming with Mash. In this session, we will get acquainted with alert and how to display it to the user. Also displaying toast messages on Android devices. In the previous session, we got acquainted with buttons and used them to get better feedback from the user, and found that the pressable component has better features to use as a button. There is a problem here that the text input is not checked when the user presses the button. To solve this problem, we set a condition in the onPressHandler function to check the number of characters entered in text input. For example, in the condition, we say the number of characters entered must be more than 3. As you can see, if less than 3 characters are entered in text input, nothing will happen, and at least 4 characters must be entered to submit the name. But we must somehow inform the user of this condition to know the reason for not approving. So in the else section, we use a warning message. This is how we use the alert component, which is imported from React Native. In the alert method, the first parameter is a string that's used as the title. The second parameter is used as the main text. The next parameter forms an array of buttons, and the last parameter specifies the options. Well, we enter the title and the original text according to the warning we want to give to the user. Then in an array, we create the first button labeled OK. As you can see, the message was displayed correctly because no characters were entered. Buttons in alert close it by default. We can also define a custom function for buttons using onPress. For example, here we want to display text in the console warn by pressing the OK button. In defining buttons, we can also use a style that accepts default values and only affects buttons on the iOS platform. Here, because our device is Android, it doesn't affect the button. The number of buttons on the iOS platform can be any number, but on the Android platform, we can have a maximum of 3 buttons. We consider one of them as a positive button, the other as a negative button, and the third as a neutral button. For example, with the title of Later or Do Not Show Again. As you can see in the alert, we have 3 buttons with 3 different functions that are arranged from left to right. The message shown is not cancelable by default, and one of the buttons must be selected. In the Options section, if we set the cancelable value to true, the displayed alert will be closed by clicking outside it or by Device Back button. Also using onDismiss, we can execute the desired function when the alert closes. In this way, we can increase the readability of the block of code. In addition, we can use the Toast component to alert the user. Of course, this component in React Native can only be used on Android devices. And if you want to use it on both Android and iOS platforms, you must use other modules. This component has 3 methods, and the first one, show, accepts 2 parameters, message text, and display duration. For the text of the message, we use the same text as before. And for the duration, we use its default values. One is the short value with a time of 2 seconds. and the other is the long value with a time of 3.5 seconds. Toast is displayed at the bottom of the screen by default. Using the Show with Gravity method, you can change its display location. For example, I select the center of the page. Using the third method, you can offset it from width and height. I change the display location to top to see the change better. If both offsets are 0, the default mode is displayed. Now if I change the offset height, it will be 200 pixels away from the top. And if I change the offset width, it will be 100 pixels away from the left. In Toast Show methods, all its parameters are required, and their absence causes an error. So there we go, we got acquainted with alert and toast warning messages. So in the next video, we will talk about modals. Now if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to share, subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next session.